You have to come over here because I'm the court and shirt news.
All right.
Hold this side now, please.
I appreciate that you pose. It's very nice.
Yeah. Shoot, hold on.
Trying to make statements here. All right, we're good. All right, we'll come to the other side for this side of the.
He's going to both sides.
You can use mine if you want, Joe.
I can't
Just
get it
like
out of
user,
video.
All right.
Well, we saw a couple guys greeted Thomas at the door this morning when he came in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, if we could have, he'd have been there at 12:01. Unfortunately, he'd been there by himself. And I was going to give the guys a victory Monday, but I didn't want to have to make them wait till Wednesday. So it was really good to have Thomas back in the building. I came out and sought him out. He was already in the weight room getting his work in. So it's nice to have him back. Looking forward to having him on the football field. You know, and we'll try to bring him along gradually and get him in position so that he can play those full games like he typically does.
Is this a pitch count situation?
Yes, it will be. And again, knowing coaches will go over the pitch count again. We can't help ourselves. You know, it's like when you get something shiny and new, you're going to play with it. And but it is, like I said, really good to have him back here.
Have you gotten a chance to kind of talk to him about the things that are happening in his personal life and how's he doing with all of that?
You know, he's doing good. And I'll let him talk to you guys about it. But he's going through a little bit of a tough family thing right now. You know, I'll let him speak on that.
Ron, what did you miss most the 4 games he was gone?
His explosive play. You know, Thomas is always good for about 3 or 4 explosive plays in a game minimum, and they bring energy, I think, to us. And I think that's one of the beneficial things about having a guy like that who has that ability to take it to the next level and make something happen.
And what about in the locker room, the meeting room, the practice?
In the locker room, you miss his personality. You miss what he brings to everybody. You miss the energy, and quite honestly, there's a camaraderie that he has, you know, for his teammates that is kind of special. He is one of those special locker room guys.
Does he step right back in, do you think, as a starter, or is that something you got to work through?
We work him back in, but he will start. As long as he's healthy, practicing, he doesn't have any issues, he's going to start on Sunday.
Sorry, I'm a horse. You mentioned last week the emotion he brings out there. Is that something you feel like a little bit has been missing out?
Yeah, I do. I mean, he's got a different energy level than most players, and it's above the norm, you know. And even in practice, you know, and you know, it's kind of a little running joke between he and I. But you know, it's nice to have normal, calm practices. Thomas is back now; it's going to be a little different, so I've got to adjust myself to him.
We had heard in the past that a lot of times coaches bounce stuff off him. He troubleshoots a lot. I'm sure you do as well. You bounce stuff off him and vice versa as well. Has that been that vacancy? Has that been strange? And what have you missed?
Yeah, it has, because he's one of those guys that, you know, when energy level's low, I can come up to him and, hey, let's see if we can pick the energy up, and he will. You know, and that's always kind of been the thing that he's done. He's been a guy that, when one of his teammates is having some tough situations or something, he'll let me know, hey, you might want to go sidle up to this guy and talk to him and help him out with that. You know, he does everything he does is with good intentions to help his teammates and help this football team.
Ron, will there be a T-shirt for Greg Olsen coming back this week also?
Yeah, eventually. It's just good, you know, I can live one at a time.
Is there any expectation that could happen this week?
Yes, there is. I mean, again, we'll he has one more checkup, and we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we'll get the okay, and he'll be ready to roll on Wednesday. And you guys will see it, because you guys will see him come out, because it'll be a padded practice.
To go 3-1, mostly without those two, and to perhaps be getting them back this week, how are you feeling now going into this?
Well, I feel good about it, but the truth is, you know, we can't let those guys coming back overshadow the fact that we got to go play. And I'll be honest about this game now. Winning covers up a lot. We made a lot of mistakes on all 3 phases of the game. And it's funny, because I heard Mike Adams talk about how all 3 phases of the game contributed to this victory. They did. But you could, at the end of the day, said all 3 phases contributed to a loss. We were fortunate. A lot of good things happened. Some guys stepped up and made some tremendous individual plays. Curtis Samuel on the catch and run was a tremendous effort play. Mike Adams coming up and making 2 big interceptions, and I think one of them you could almost say he baited the quarterback into it because of his experience. And then, of course, the 2 big special teams play. Colin Jones coming up with his play, and then Graham Gano, hitting the 63-yarder was tremendous. So those guys really contributed to some great efforts that we got out on the field. And but having said that, we missed some blocks up front. We missed a protection as a running back. We had chances to complete some routes, and we didn't, which led to interceptions, unfortunately. We didn't fit our run properly, which allowed a long run. We gave up a couple of big passes, explosive plays that we really shouldn't. And when you look at that, you just know that, hey, we're good. But the problem with being good is you're good enough to win, you're good enough to get beat. We want to be great.
A lot of times you hear about a quarterback trying to look off a safety or defensive back, linebacker. On that one that I think you're talking about, it almost looked like Mike. It was the other way around. Mike almost looked Eli off.
Pretty much is what he did, and it was one of those things that Mike felt it. I bet if you ask him, he'll tell you. And after seeing it a couple of times, there was something about it that smelled funny. And he did exactly that, and he kind of baited them into that situation. Mike's an experienced guy. That's what veteran players do, and that's what you count on veteran players doing, is making plays to, put themselves in position to have success. And that's one of the things that we got to do also as coaches, to make sure what we're doing is we're giving our players every opportunity to succeed as well.
The 3rd down and 1 call, final drive, handoff to Christian, kind of up the middle. What happened that I think 19 seconds ended up running
Right.
off? And I know you were out of timeouts, of
Right.
course, but why?
Well, we needed to get the first down, because if you don't get the first down, you risk not being able to have the next play. And we were able to get 2 more plays out of that. Let's say we go for it. Let's say people say, why didn't you run a quarterback sneak? Run a quarterback sneak, and he gets stuffed. Now you're in 4th down. Now you're going to kick from that spot. Well, eventually we end up kicking from that spot, but we wanted to take a shot downfield, which we were able to do, and Cam threw it out of bounds. So again, that's what my thinking was on that. Was also, I didn't think they would anticipate us running the ball the way we did, and if they had been in, let's say, some sort of soft cover too, we pop it. Next thing you know, he's downfield. We're spiking and we're kicking a much closer field goal. But as it worked out, the 63-yarder was good enough.
And why do you think so much time came off the clock? Right.
Well, we had to get lined up because of the play that we ran, and that was probably the biggest thing. Get everybody lined up, making sure everybody was set. You don't want to get an illegal procedure call because the clock is running, so that's a 10-second runoff. So again, Cam did everything he did to control the situation, get the play called, and we ran it.
At that point, were you hoping that they would measure, because it would have given you a little bit of time?
Oh, yeah, it would have been nice, but they just kind of leaned over and they felt that was good enough. So we had to kind of hustle through and get ourselves ready to go.
Any update on Ryan?
Ryan had his shoulder, so until we get that cleared up, and I talked to RV today, we'll have an update for you on Wednesday.
Ron, any thoughts on Eric's protest yesterday?
Well, as I said, I'm not going to discuss a guy, exercising his First Amendment rights.
Do you feel like there's been any sort of a shift? Obviously, Jerry had a very, conservative view of things. We have new ownership now. Does that have anything you think to do with us seeing this in Charlotte for the first time?
Well, as far as the ownership, I think that's a question for Mr. Tepper.
On Khalil, is that the same injury?
Again, I'm not quite sure, Joe. The thing I was told was that his shoulder was sore, so.
Talked about bringing TD in, working him in slowly. Was that what you were doing with Curtis yesterday?
With Curtis and Eric, but of course, as I said, we can't help ourselves. We played Eric a little bit more than I'd hope we would. As far as Curtis was concerned, he got winded a couple times, and you could see it. And because he hadn't been able to do anything for 4 weeks or 3 weeks, however long it was.
You've talked for months about getting the ball in Cam's the weapons and into their hands. Can you, from a defensive guy's perspective, explain what it's like to be a defense, and then you've got to worry about what Christian can do with it, DJ can do with it, and Curtis can.
And that's exactly it, and not just them, but the combination of guys that you're going to have. and now potentially with Greg Olsen back on the field, now you really got to throw that into the mix. And you've got to talk about the positions that they're going to line up in. So as a coordinator, you're going to have to make sure we practice all those elements. You know, one of the things that happened to us yesterday when they threw the pass with Odell, you know, that's one of the things now that we've got to constantly think in our mind as a defensive staff is that, you know, what trick plays can we anticipate? So when we start getting ready for teams, we're going to go back and look at the things that they've done in the past and say, hey, we've got to look at that, or look at things that have happened to them by the teams they've played against. Because, you know, again, this is a copycat league. People beg, borrow, and steal plays from each other constantly.
How early in the process did you notice DJ's ability when he got the ball in his hands?
Oh, I'm going to say from watching the college tapes. I mean, if there's one thing that we felt he could do, and I forgot what it was, but there's a number about when he had the ball in his hands, yards after catch. I mean, those were pretty impressive, and some of those yards after catch where he was breaking tackles. He's a good-sized receiver, and same thing with Curtis. You know, Curtis was a running back. He's used to running for yards after he's had the ball in his hands. So they're going to break tackles, and they're going to run strong. You know, and in some respects, they remind me of when Devin Hester used to return punts and kicks. He was tough to bring down because he was a one-time running back. And guys like that who return or run, you know, after catch, they're tough.
Ryan, you and Eric always emphasize the importance of getting the quarterback off his spot and kind of affecting the passer. Do you credit the Giants for what they did?
Yes.
Keeping Eli clean yesterday?
Very much so. They did keep him clean. And one of the things that we tried to counter that was we tried to drop 8 at one time and only rush 3 because they were max protecting. You know, we like to call max protect or punt pro, where they line up like a punt formation where they put wings out there to chip our guys, widen our guys, to slow our guys down. And they were effective. They threw the RPOs pretty effectively until Mike made his play. Their play action was pretty good in terms of protection. We were able to limit their runs, but you know, we were stymied by it as far as their protection was concerned. So we got to give them credit, most certainly. And they threw a bunch of quick passes, and that's what happens.
What did you think of Eric's play yesterday? How he
I
looked?
thought it was good, and probably the best example was a couple plays he made at the line of scrimmage for us in tackles, and then there was a cover 2 that we ran, and Dante, as young guys will do, he bit up on the underneath play, and they threw a route to the sideline, and Eric got off his half and got there for the hit, which was pretty impressive when you look at it too, because he broke downhill and was able to still make a good clean hit. So you could see that he has those types of skill sets that you're looking for as far as corners are concerned. So we're excited about him continuing to learn and grow inside our defense.
Ron, on that, going back to that third down call late in the game, did you have a conversation with Chase Blackburn about that?
Yes. Prior to us starting that last drive, Chase came up to me and said, "Coach, 65 is his max today." And what happens is Greg goes out, Graham goes out, he warms up, and you kind of see how far he can kick it. In the direction he kicked it, we felt there was a little bit of wind too that would help him. And Chase came up to him. And Chase was very matter of fact, very confident about it. Coach, if we can get it to get him in the 65-yard range, he's got a good chance. And I mean, it really was. It gave me a lot of confidence. And it was funny because when he went out there, I just okay, let's go. And he went and did it. And man, he hit that thing good.
Obviously, promoting Chase shows a lot of trust in him and his ability as a coach, but this seems like a really pivotal moment in terms of the trust that you put into him as a coordinator.
Very much so. And when you hear a guy, say it to you like he did, I mean, it gives you confidence. It really did. It gave me a lot of confidence, and I really appreciate that. And I think also some of the things that we've done this year to show confidence in our guys. I think that's really cool, and it was good to see the special teams come out and contribute the way they did.
You credit the Giants' pass protection with helping them not get to Eli. Is there anything else you guys can do to sort of, surge the pass rush or sort of contribute to that a little bit more? I think.
Well, we were close too. I mean, let's be honest about that. But like I said, he threw a lot of early balls, and a lot of their protections were designed to slow us down. The thing you'd almost want to say then is we probably could have had a few more plays on the ball because if it's really 2- and 3-man routes, your coverage can be a little bit better on that. And again, as I said earlier, now winning covers up a lot. We made some mistakes back there that we got to get corrected, and that's going to happen sometimes when you get a young guy out there at one corner and you get a new guy at safety. But those are things that we have to fix if we expect to win football games.
Did you see the Giants counter at all when when it was clear that DJ and Curtis were a bigger part of the game plan?
Well, one thing we really felt was they were challenging us to run. And you could see it because they were constantly putting 8-man boxes in front of us. And they hit it good. They disguised it well, walked down late, created some tough spots for us. And it was a tough physical run game yesterday for us. I thought our guys handled it well enough that we made the plays. What was also good, though, was we made a couple chunk plays throwing the ball when we had to. You know, we took advantage of them when they did come down in that 8-man box. I mean, their game plan was pretty solid. They did some good things. But I think we made plays at the right time for us.
Had you heard that Thomas McGahee is going through chemotherapy treatments, or was going through chemotherapy treatments?
Yes, did hear that.
How's Chase doing?
Um,
Have you had a chance to talk to him?
I heard Thomas doing well. You know, same thing with Dave. Got a chance to see him as well. I didn't get a chance to talk to Thomas, but I did talk to Dave, and it's good to see that they're doing well.
Talk about making plays at the right time. There was the 4th and 1 as well. How much trust does that show from Norv to Cam, and then from Cam to Jarius to call a pass in that situation?
Well, I think a big thing is one of the things that we practice. You know, during our offense-defensive days. One of the plays that they did work on was exactly that play. We got the look we wanted, and I think that's what helped instill that confidence that Cam was able to put it out to where, you know, Jarius needed it to have it to give himself a chance to make the play. I think there was a lot of confidence in our quarterback's ability, and I think he's very confident in the guys that he has. But more importantly, I think Norv gave him a chance by making the play call. I think that's important, you know. And again, it was one of those things that prior to it, you know, I told him, hey, we can go for 4th down if you feel good about it. So Coach felt strongly, and we went for it.
Ron, you had some kind of injury news with Jared Norris late in the week.
Yes, he injured his big toe. He's got turf toe, pretty bad right now, and so we'll see. We'll make a decision probably in the next day or two or the doctors will, as to what they need to do in terms of, you know, what taking care of it, handling it the way it needs to be handled. I guess is the best way to put it. Good.
Just cramps.
Yes, Devin cramped up. In fact, at one point when they took him in to get an IV as well. So he did cramp up. We're good. Cool. Thank you, guys.